So through the process of making these videos, I've learned how important lighting is. I had some lights hanging around and realized that they might be perfect for this. So today I'm going to wire them up, see if I can get them working and figure out how to use them. So we're going to be using a few relatively basic tools today. We've got the soldering iron out. I'll be soldering my wiring connections. You could use butt connectors or anything else. We'll need a power supply. This is a 12-volt supply, which is what the lights that I have need. You can find power supplies all over the place. Anytime you throw out your electronics, keep the power supply because you'll never know when you need it. And it's always cool to have tubs and tubs of power supplies. Got a little bit of wiring here because I want to put some longer leads on these so that I can move them around as I need to. Got the lights themselves. I got the lights for free a couple of years ago. Wasn't sure what to do with them, so they've been hanging out here. They seem like pretty nice lights, so I'm glad that I'm going to be able to get to use them for something. Then we have a few basic tools. I've got a screwdriver for the power supply, wire stripper to make things easier, some scissors, a pocket knife, and some heat shrink tubing. Again, if you're not using soldering iron, then you probably don't need the heat shrink either. Just need to make sure you've got secure electrical connections that are safe. Alright, we got our light here. These wires are pre-tinned for us. Got some heat shrink. We're even going to color code it. And I always like the details. I don't know. That's the fun part to me. Make sure the heat shrink's the same size. Make sure everything looks good. Doesn't always happen. My wife will tell you I get a little obsessed with trying to make it perfect. And sometimes that can be a real barrier. You can't always be perfect, you know. Sometimes you just got to get it done. Starting to learn that, but it is difficult. But when you can take your time to do it and to do it right, it feels good. It's nice. My father-in-law, from what I hear, had a saying, and I love it. Never heard it growing up, but I wish I had. If you don't have time to do it right the first time, when are you going to have time to do it again? And that makes a lot of sense to me. So, do it right the first time. Or, if you have the magic of video, you can do it right the second time on the second take. Easiest way to strip these. Sure, there's some precise wire stripping tool to take that gray insulation off of there, but I don't own it. And the knife does a pretty good job. Alright. Get the rest of that out of the way. Go ahead and twist these up. I don't have my flux pen. I couldn't find it. Those things seem to leak and leak all over the place, so I probably tossed it out. Normally I would probably hit a little flux. I do think I'll tin this a little bit just to make life a little easier. See, this is when it would be nice to have some flux on there. In fact, I'm not even going to bother because that's never going to flow. Hopefully the flux from here will do everything we need it to. I used to think I was the worst solderer in the world. And then somebody introduced me to flux. and I realized I was only the second worst solderer in the world. So, if you're trying to figure out why you're having a hard time getting it to flow and you're not using flux, I don't care if it's flux core solder or not, use more flux. Get some decent no clean flux and get it on there. You can get a pretty nice joint there. It's shrinking up. Let's see if we can get it over before it really goes south on us. Perfect. You can see we got such short leads here, and I don't want to strip this back any further if I can avoid it. The heat travels up that wire and starts melting that heat shrink, so you got to be aware of that. Like to wrap the wire around there and just twist it together. I'm sure it wouldn't pass NASA's stringent requirements, but should do just fine on these lights. Get a little solder on there so that the heat will transfer into the wire. Make sure it wets and flows. That there. Try and keep that from shrinking up too much. Go ahead and trim off those. We can get this slid over there. A little heat, a little overkill, but I don't want to plug in the heat gun. There's that. Alright. Let's see if we can sneak something a little more snug over this cable. Can we make this fit? Yeah, I like that a lot better than a loose piece of heat shrink. So that's what we're going to run. We should still be able to sneak that other piece off of there. Straighten it out a little bit so that stays nice and straight. It is going to heat up and take the form that you give it right now, so make sure you like it. Put a little heat on there. Like I said, go ahead and make sure it's straight. I'm going to avoid touching it too much. It'll take fingerprints. I mean, not a big deal, but again, if it can look nice, let's make it look nice. Let's go ahead and sneak this piece off of here. Alright, so trim this back a little bit. Nice sharp knife always makes this easy. You don't have to use a lot of pressure. Just give that a couple of twists there. Check, make sure you didn't nick your insulation. You can even sneak that back a little. Yeah, that looks good. Go ahead and strip these. I'm going to go a little long because got to get on those screw terminals for that supply. I do wish I had some flux so I could tin these. They would be a little easier to manage, but we'll make it work. And out of there, get our supply in the picture here. not plugged in. Now, I was just using this a couple of weeks ago actually at work, and I dialed it right on into 12 volts, so we know we're good there. Sneak that in there. Guess we want to go on the bottom. Want to kind of go with the rotation of your screw. That way it grabs it, pulls it in. If you counter to that, then it'll pull it out. Okay, so we've got our lights wired up. They are working nice and bright. Should be quite helpful with making the videos. I do have a couple of things that I would like to do to them still. Number one, I want to add a power switch. Not sure if I'm going to put both of them on the same switch or maybe give each one their own switch. The other thing that I'd like to do is get a little bit smaller power supply, more properly rated for these lights. This is a little unwieldy, as you can tell, so get something that fits the specs a little bit better, make it a little bit more convenient. But I'm happy with how the project turned out. I'm really happy with these lights and glad that I finally have a way to use them. I thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up down below and feel free to leave a comment. Love to hear from you guys, and thanks for checking it out.